Today is Friday and tomorrow we are moving to a new place, so I figured I wanted to do kind of like a walkthrough of this studio. I guess because I want it. Maybe I'll share this on YouTube, but it's mostly because I want to have, when I look back, I spent lots of hours in this room. I just wanted to have this.
Stop it.
I use the studio for composing and also for teaching. And so I'm gonna explain how I've got everything set up. So when I'm composing, this is my main computer. It's a Vision Dock computer. It's a regular i9. It's 128 gigs of RAM. It's a little bit dusty. It's not the typical double Xeon $20,000 computer. It is a great computer, but it sits on the range of kind of like 4, 5, 6,000. This runs Cubase, but it's not the only computer. When I moved here 5 years ago, I built my own computer, and this is back here. It's this computer that's sitting right here, and this is just a custom built PC that I built myself. And it's also 128 gigs of RAM and SSD drives and all that. Both computers have 10 gigabit Ethernet because this computer hosts most of the samples using BE Pro. So this computer runs BE Pro, and I load most of the samples. 80% of the sample libraries are loaded here, and then I control this. There's no screen in this computer, and I control everything from here. I've got remote desktop, and this that I'm seeing here, it's actually that other computer, and I load everything in here. So basically samples there, and then Cubase in this main computer, and that's how I run my session. I've got these 3 speakers that I bought like a year ago. It's Acoustics speakers, very old speakers. They got built in 1997, and I think originally were owned by the Euphonics founder. And then another composer bought them used, a remote control composer, and then I bought them a year ago during COVID. Many composers were moving from their studios to their home studios, and sometimes it is just a little bit too big. This old Akai that I bought used, everything, most of what I've got here is used. This is an Akai. I took it apart, and I took, see all this mess here, it's just I took the cover, the box, and I just took everything apart and I put it here so it fits. Otherwise it wouldn't fit, and I was not going to buy another keyboard. This is the U-Control UC33. They don't make this model anymore, but I like it very much. So I actually have 5 of these. I've been using this since 2008. There used to be another one over there, and I've got 3 spare more stored. At some point they just start failing, some of the faders, and I've been buying them used. You can still find them, but I like this very much because it's got 8 faders and multiple knobs. I like the length of the faders and the resistance that they offer. What's my audio interface, you may ask? I have an RME internal PCIe card in this computer, 2 analog in outs, and I think it's like 16 digital in and outs that I use for routing and all this. And I've got this little thing. This is just a controller. This is not an interface. I use it just for controlling the internal PCIe RME interface. And then this Apollo here, in the past I used it as an audio interface, but now I just use it as a preamp. I have it in a standalone mode. I've got a few plugins in here, and I use it just for mics, for these 2 mics. I use Cubase. Cubase here just runs the session, receives all the audio, routes everything, and then usually I have here a synth that I just moved because we are moving out. So this is kind of like the reduced version. So this version 1 of the studio when I'm composing, which is at least 50% of the time. So I'm gonna explain how I've got this set up when I'm teaching, which happens at least 3 times a week every morning. Usually when I'm composing, I'll have here stuffs so I can write music. when I am teaching, though, I replace this with this notebook where I usually have the class. Teaching is usually the first task that I do every day. Usually I wake up at around 4 or 5 a.m. and at 7:30 I've got the class. I usually compose during the day, not very early in the morning. And I've got the studio set up, or the computer set up, so when I turn it up, it opens Trello and opens this specific board with a checklist. Because when I'm teaching, I go live and it's a Zoom session where I usually have between 30 and 70 students. But also we stream that usually on YouTube and Facebook. It's not very complicated, but there are a few things, and it's something, if you forget one step sometimes, like, you know, the mic or recording, because we also record everything in cameras internally, so all that content that I'm teaching can be reused and edited later on for the students to be able to watch those edited classes later on. So the way this goes, I'll come here, turn on the computer and the lights, and I'll get everything ready as if I were to compose. So I'll start the BE Pro session, the Cubase session, and I'll have my template ready. And so essentially it's just a composing space. The difference is everything gets recorded. So first the audio gets recorded. There's two audios, the external audio and then the internal audio that gets recorded. The external audio is through this preamp and gets recorded to this camera that at the moment is not here. And then the internal audio gets outputted digitally and then gets recorded to one of these recorders here. This recorder records the screen. This recorder records this camera here that's pointing down, that at the moment is not here because it's there. Doing a time lapse because we're moving out. I want to have everything captured. And so in this one, which is the one that captures the screen, it also receives the audio digitally, so there is no DAAD conversion. Usually these recorders record on SD drives, and I've got a 1 terabyte SD drive, and then each camera records internally. So that's it. It's 4 video sources, 1, 2, 3 this camera and 4 this other camera. We use 2 cameras because I mess up a lot. I repeat things, and so for the editor, if they have 2 cameras, they can cut from one camera to another. Usually we had 2 tripods, one tripod here, another one here. We replaced the second tripod with this slider. It's the cheapest slider that I found on Amazon, and basically it allows me to move this camera a little bit. It's very slowly, but it adds a little bit of dynamism. All these 4 screens are connected to the main computer. Usually I'll put the script here and the camera is right there. When I'm recording, I'm not looking down here. I used to have a teleprompter. I tried a teleprompter. It doesn't work for me. It sounds very like I'm reading. When I've got this here and I have to record something, usually what I do is I memorize each paragraph and then I deliver it to camera a few times till I get the tone right, and that's usually how I record something when it's scripted. This screen is where, when I'm composing, it's where everything happens. Cubase is here. This other screen is where I'll have the mixer. In this screen, usually I'll have OBS when I'm streaming, and also I can see all of them here, so I can see how they react to what I say, and I get a little bit of visual feedback. And when I'm composing, I will have the picture, the movie. When I'm composing, I don't use the screen. In fact, I've got one button here that turns off the lights and this specific screen and the cameras as well. But when I'm teaching though, I do use this screen to, one, see what's going on, because there are several cameras and also the screen. Sometimes I need for them to see just the screen, or the screen and me, or just me, all the picture. And I've got all these configured here. This is a Stream Deck, and there are different views that I configured here in OBS. So when I'm teaching, I'll switch from, you know, this camera or this other camera, or the screen and the camera, or this camera on top here. Before I start the class, usually I'll hit 6 buttons. I'll hit record here, it's camera 1, camera 2, record here, which is this camera, record here, and then I'll hit record here. That just records what's going on in OBS just for safety. and I'll hit stream. That streams to Restream, which is a service that will stream directly to YouTube and Facebook. And other than that, usually Zoom is already open and people is already waiting there. Esteban usually moderates my classes. For the lights, I've got this light here. This area of the desk is usually it's a little bit darker when the blinds are down, because these kind of like lights shines light on me and this part of the desk. This is an aperture light storm 300X that we use for this set, and sometimes we move it around. It can go from a cooler or warmer white light. I usually have another light here, and there's this blue light here that just makes the speaker look a little bit nicer. It adds a little bit of light to the background. When I start teaching, everything is pitch black. We bring down the blinds. Everything gets recorded here. This is a storage unit. This is a NAS. This is the QNAP TVS X72XT, 16 terabyte drives in here for a total of, I don't know, like 130 terabytes. So all the classes as I'm teaching gets recorded directly here, and then when I'm done teaching and recording, all the cards connect directly here, and then all the files get first compressed and then moved here, and this guy creates a backup copy that goes directly to Dropbox that syncs with the editor, so the editor can start editing. My composing projects also live there. I've got two acoustic panels that I bring closer here to close this space. We treated it acoustically. I've got these panels here. We also added this curtain here to, just to cover a little bit more of the walls to absorb a little bit of the sound. There's a bathroom there because this actually is a bedroom. And actually, they just brought the bed today because we are moving tomorrow. There was more acoustic material over there. There used to be acoustic panels there, but they fell off. The curtain that was there was covering this whiteboard that we use for sketching, and these are the acoustic panels that I usually put close to me, so it dampens a little bit. Usually it's acoustic in this side, and it is a whiteboard in that other side. Other than that, in the studio we used to have this for jumping. If you've got any question, please let me know.